I'm Bill Hemmer. This is Hemmer Time. The newest member of the Fox family, Larry Kudlow. Welcome.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it.
4 p.m., Monday to Friday, Fox Business, and all parts in between, I do believe, right?
Yes.
Now, hey, Larry, when you were doing your show at CNBC before you went to the White House, how much did you really want to work here?
No comment.
Listen, they do that to me about CNN all the time. So, yeah, right on.
Look, I've always had a lot of friends at Fox, Fox News, Fox Business, but the CNBC years were great. You know, they taught me how to anchor and, made me a good TV guy. And by the way, those skills were very useful working in the White House.
How so?
Well, in two ways. Number one, the president always wanted me as an economic spokesman or spokesperson. So obviously I did a lot of stand-up stuff for the different cable stations. I did a lot of Sunday shows, so I knew how to do it. But the other thing that's interesting is a good anchor knows how to ask good questions and tease stuff out of guests. And in all the meetings, I mean, whether they were policy meetings inside the administration or meetings with foreign dignitaries who would come and visit, the ability to ask good questions, which is something I learned doing the old Kudlow Report show on CNBC, served me very well. Served me very well.
Why do you think Trump hired you? Was it because of that, your ability to communicate?
Well, I think that was one key point. A second key point was my policy views. You know, I've been a Reagan supply sider for a very long time. I worked for Reagan in his first term, and I helped the president put his tax plan together. We had a group, including Steve Mnuchin, who ran the Treasury, a very dear friend of mine. But the president went with, or then candidate Trump, liked our tax ideas, at least most of them. So on the policy side, he trusted me. By the way, I never asked for the position. He and I spoke on two occasions in his office in Midtown New York. And he asked me, and I said, well, this is after he was elected. I said, you and I should talk from time to time. I can come down and see you, but I'm very happy in my current positions. I had CNBC, I had ABC Radio, I was giving speeches, et cetera, et cetera. And when he called me in 2018, I was quite surprised, to be honest with you. I was coming home. I was in Connecticut, our Connecticut place. I was coming home on a Sunday from tennis, and he just called. So I had to pull over because the reception was good. Connecticut's a backwards place. We don't have many cell towers. So I pulled over, and I talked to him for about a half hour. Yeah. And I wasn't quite sure, but then he said, I'm going to call you tomorrow night. I said, great, thank you, sir. And he did. And that's when he first mentioned the NEC job. And then he called me the next night, was a Tuesday night. I was having dinner with my pal, John Katzimatidis. We have a little dinner group, and we were in Midtown restaurant. Anyway, he called, it was busy, noisy. I stepped outside and talked to him on Fifth Avenue for a while. And finally, I just said to him, I said, sir, are you offering me a position? And he said, oh, yeah, you're my guy. You're the only one. You're my guy. Congratulations.
So get to the point already.
Exactly.
Did you hesitate, or did you say, I'm in this time?
No, the second call on Monday evening, he said, go talk to Judy, and think about whether you would want to come down here. Some people in his group felt he had offered me the job then. I don't think I heard it. But by Tuesday, when he did offer me the job, yes, I accepted because Judy and I talked about it at some length. And then he told me, you'll come down, maybe Thursday or Friday, and we'll stand up together, have a news conference and make the announcement. So, okay, thank you, sir. So then Wednesday morning, Bill, it's great. I'm in my home office, and the phone rings, and it's the president. He says, look at you. You're so handsome. And he had, of course, leaked it, and it was all over various news
He leaked it.
He leaked it.
I want to get into this $2 trillion COVID deal in a minute here, but I'm just a lot of things come to mind when you explain this story here. So let me just take it a little deeper. And by the way, I fully appreciate your comment about CNBC and the amount of respect you have for what you learned there. And now you bring your skills here. I feel a similar way about CNN for 10 years. I got to see history change before my eyes for millions and millions of people. And that was an awesome experience on a personal and professional level. And for the past 15 years at Fox, I just feel very gifted to see so much of that, Larry. But on Trump, what does he do next?
Well, interesting. I spoke to him last Saturday morning. He called me before my radio show to touch base on his CPAC speech and mine. I spoke at 10:15. He, of course, spoke at later in the afternoon. He was in a very good space. I knew he was going to have a good speech. I had sent him some numbers on one of his favorite topics, which is that he engendered not one, but two economic recoveries, pre-pandemic, and then while the pandemic is still going on now, with the V-shaped recovery. And we chatted for about 15 minutes or so. And in fact, I gave him the numbers on the vaccines. He had given Biden by inauguration day, we had a daily run rate of 1.3 million, even though Biden keeps saying to people that there were no vaccines when he got there. And I encouraged POTUS to put that in, and he did. And he also put in the two recoveries. So I would take him at his word right now, Bill. In other words, what he said publicly at CPAC was that he intended to take his policies, what he called Trumpism, and he outlined it very nicely, and work to recapture the House and Senate in the 22 elections. I think that's going to be his first priority. And I know he mentioned he left the door open for 24, but I don't think he's anywhere near making that decision. I think he wants to reestablish his policy. I myself gave my speech at CPAC was a defense of his economic policies and with numbers, because, Washington is often fact-free. He likes that a lot. Brooke Rollins, who's a colleague of mine in the White House Domestic Policy Council, and Jared Kushner and Linda McMahon and I, we are setting up a nonprofit think tank, which will emphasize POTUS's achievements and help set up some research to keep that vision in place. And I think he will use that on the campaign trail.
When you think about the last couple of years, how would you characterize the good and the bad from your experience in the West Wing?
Well, I think that in policy terms, he was a very consequential president, Bill. I think his achievements in lower taxes, lower regulations, energy, being tough with China, and by the way, the China trade deal itself, the U.S., Mexican, Canadian trade deal. And in foreign policy, I think the Abraham Accords in the Mideast were highly consequential. And he obviously chose the Sunni Gulf states and Israel and turned his back on Iran, which I sat on the National Security Council among my duties, and I think that was exactly the right decision. So these are things that will stand the test of time, and these are things that will be debated. So I think very, very consequential. He has his own style of communications, as we know. I would have done a few things differently over the 3 years that I was there, but I actually found him, he and I would see each other or speak daily, or more than that. But as a communicator myself, I always found when he stuck to the policies, he did very, very well, very well. Spoke to the country over the heads of the media. I think sometimes he picked fights beneath him, and I don't think that served him well at all. And of course, as we know, the last couple of months were very disappointing. I had my own disagreements on that, and it's too bad it ended the way it ended. But I think, judging from his polling numbers and judging from the CPAC speech, I think he's going to get past that, Bill, and move on. And as I said, he was in a very good space when I spoke to him Saturday, and I looked at him Sunday, and he did very well. He was calm, resolute. He wasn't in a mocking mood. He was in a serious mood, a very substantive mood. And I think when he's like that, there's nobody better, to be honest with you.
For the full podcast, go to foxnewspodcast.com.